Hey everyone, welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged, like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Hey guys, thanks for being patient with me while I was gone for about 10 days there. I tried. I thought I was going to be able to record while I was on the road, but I was in the sticks of northern Florida with really bad internet reception, so yeah, not much happened. But I'm back now. Should be on a regular schedule. Not this week, but next, for sure. On to the stories. Guy who builds computers for a living destroys his cheap name brand computer. This story's from years ago when I provided tech support for a company of cheap PC clones that are no longer available in the United States, but which are still sold in other parts of the world. Now, to say that many of the purchasers of these computers were first-time users is a vast understatement of the case. Many of my best stories from this time come from the nexus between bad hardware design, cheap customer service solutions, and insanely novice users. I get a call from a young man who introduces himself by declaring that he builds computers for a living. I ask myself, why, if you have the ability to build a computer, would you ever buy one of these cheapo systems? After purchase, he wants to boost the video and bought an add-in VGA card. Installing such a card is easy, but sometimes you have to change a jumper or a dip switch on the computer's motherboard to get the computer to recognize and use the new hardware. For those who don't remember such things, dip switches are like little tiny light switches that can be turned on and off with the tip of a pin. Pin jumpers are the little pieces of plastic that can be placed over two pins to create a closed circuit, or removed to break the circuit. Pin jumpers are cheaper, so that's what we use. Some of our computers at this time have literally 50 or more jumpers, and if you open or close the wrong circuit, it'll render the computer unusable without a technician to put things back the way they should be. We had one case of an OCD, ADD teenager who had been swapped out twice on his computer after pulling every single jumper off the motherboard, and when he did it for the third time, they bought his computer back from him and banned him from ever buying another one in his life, but that's a different story. So it's not unusual on our computers of the day to need to change a jumper pin configuration for the computer to recognize and use an add-in video card. And knowing this, the young man checks the schematic for the motherboard and the motherboard itself, but cannot identify which jumper does that. But he does see a chip labeled VGA, and so he extracts this chip, but now his computer no longer boots at all. This is a real forehead smack moment for me. First, his model is designed to auto-detect an add-in video card and turn off the onboard video as soon as you boot it up with an add-on card installed. He did not need to change anything for his new graphics card to work. Second, the only chip on his motherboard that had VGA written on it is his CMOS BIOS chip. For those of you who don't actually build computers for a living, this is the only part of the computer that has programming when you first turn a computer on. Its job is to make sure everything needed is there for the computer to work, and then looks for and loads the more extensive programming, normally stored on the hard drive, that gets you doing all the other fun things a computer can do. By removing this chip, he had essentially rendered his computer brain dead. And because it's a flashable CMOS of the EEPROM type, the chip itself was destroyed by the process of removal. Any programming it had contained had been erased by the process. It could not be reinstalled and then made to work. The only viable solution for this issue is a full motherboard replacement. And since what he's done also completely voids his warranty, he has to pay for the parts and labor himself. Needless to say, he is none too happy with this result. He escalates it up to my supervisor and then my manager, but I leave extensive notes and it remains a non-warranty repair. A little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Yeah, it sounds like a little more research was in order with that guy. And like OP said, if you build computers for a living anyway, why would you go for the cheap off-the-shelf things? Very strange. The jumping T. Several years back, a user complained to me that they had a jumping T on their new overpriced $5,000 notebook. As they described it, the issue was when they were typing, whenever they would type a T, it would appear at a random point in the document each time. After not being able to get to the bottom of the issue over the phone, I went over to their office to observe them replicating the issue. They were typing, and all appeared normal, and then when they went to type T, they violently twisted and slammed their left hand down, also clicking the trackpad. There was nothing wrong with the T, they were simply clicking the trackpad and the T was then being inserted wherever the cursor was. The user didn't accept that explanation and was very insistent that I replace the internal keyboard. I politely refused but offered them an external keyboard that was identical to the internal one. They declined. The user also used an external mouse, so I offered to simply disable the trackpad and showed them how to toggle it on and off. They also declined that. Every time that user saw me, for the next few months, they would ask me if I was going to fix their tea, and I would explain to them that we already identified the cause and would again offer them an external keyboard, which they would refuse. So basically, this user just has a problem with fat fingering things like the trackpad. I've done that before. The laptops I use every day don't seem to have this issue for me. There's a little more space for my left hand, but every so often on my wife's laptop, hers is a little smaller. She likes her laptops a little more compact. If I use hers, the edge of my palm tends to hit her trackpad when I'm typing, and it'll do some funky things then. So, just user clumsiness, basically. I want to use the thing that's off, but it needs to stay off. Literally just hung up the phone 5 minutes ago. Call comes in. Me. Good morning, help desk. The serve man speaking. User. Who's this? Is this the help desk? Me. Good morning, help desk. The serve man speaking. User. Hi, I have a shared document in OneDrive that I'm working on with about 5 other people at once, and my changes aren't automatically saving. Me. I take a look. Autosave is turned off. User. I always keep it off because it doesn't work with the way I use my documents. Me. Just so I understand, you want your document to autosave, but you don't want autosave on? User. Yes. The call went downhill from there. I don't understand this user at all. That'd be like one of my kids saying, I can't see to get down the hallway. Well, turn the light on. But I don't want the light on. Can't fix that, folks. Text can make mistakes too, i.e., colorblindness is a thing. A very short but kind of funny one. Recently, I made a few documents that allow us to track the progress of how many people have received their new work safety and data security training in our departments. It's a simple list with names. The cells for people who need both trainings are red. Those who only need work safety training are yellow. In the Excel sheet, if a person is done with their training, you just double-click on the name in the list and the cell becomes green. Now, what I didn't consider was that the manager on site is colorblind. It's as simple as that. I got a very confusing email where he wrote how confusing the colors are and if I could change them. I did and everything was okay. When I asked him about it, he said he's not colorblind. I've known him for 3 years at this point and never knew anything about it either. Well, today I got a simple text message that said, well, there go my dreams of becoming an electrician. We had a good laugh about it. I used to go hunting with a guy who was colorblind, and the way he described it, and I guess there are people who have different levels of colorblindness, but he said for most people, from what his doctor said, that were colorblind, they could see colors. They were just different than the way most people see them. So greens looked orange or brown to him or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, everything was a little weird to him. So I tried not to describe things in colors when, he wanted to find something in the back of the truck or whatever, because that would just confuse the issue. The broken keyboard with a weird connector. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Not a tech, but I help family and friends, that kind of stuff. Me is, well, me. W is friend of mine. So the other day I was talking with a friend of mine. Within our conversation, he mentions this. W. Oh, hey, I have this random old keyboard with a weird cable. Me, already guessing it's a PS2 keyboard. Asks him to send over a pic. And yep, the pic confirms it's a PS2 keyboard, so I respond. Me. Oh, hey, that's a PS2 keyboard. I'm related to the PS2 console. W. Yeah, it randomly stopped working the other day. I tried unplugging it and plugging it back in and it doesn't work. Me. Wait, PS2 isn't hot pluggable. W is confused, so I explained it to him and told him to do the old turn it off and turn it back on again. Me. Unplug that keyboard of yours, turn off your computer, plug it in, then turn it back on. W's a bit confused as everything else like USBs and monitors can be plugged in while the computer is on, but agrees to try. A few minutes later I get this message. W. OMG, it's working again, with some shocked emojis. Me. Haha, now you know PS2 isn't hot pluggable. W. Thank you so much, I don't have to buy a new keyboard. So yeah, PS2 keyboard saved from the dump, and W saves a few bucks from having to buy a new keyboard. Still don't know why it randomly stopped working in the first place though. I'm not sure how true that is. I had an old PS2 set up that I could plug in after the computer was on and it would work most of the time. Not every time, but what do you guys think? Why actually work with Excel if you can print it out and fill it in by hand? This just happened. I'm not a native English speaker, by the way, so apologies if I use confusing terms. I'm not tech support or even IT. I'm simply the youngest person in my department and have the most tech-related knowledge. So I'm usually in charge of implementing any kind of documents or processes in SAP, Access, or Excel, etc. Me equals me. P is tech-illiterate coworker. A coworker just came to me and asked me to redo and simplify the Excel sheet we use to track how many COVID tests we give out every day or week. P seems to be complaining about how inefficient it is and that she doesn't understand it. She's the temporary stand-in for me because I have the next 2 weeks off. To clarify, it's literally a table with 3 columns and a bottom row summing up column B and C respectively. A is for the date, B is for the amount of tests given out each day, C is for how many positive cases we have. So because I don't really know what's supposed to be so hard about typing in a number into a cell, I walk over and ask what the problem is. Me: Hi P, I heard you had trouble with the COVID lists? P: Yes, the list makes no sense. Why did you only put one field in for the sum? It's totally inefficient because now I have to print out a new page every day. Me: What? Why would you print it out? It sums it up automatically. P: What do you mean? Me: Okay, explain to me how you intended to go about it. P: Sure, I print it out, write the numbers into the fields, then after each day I add it up and write the total in the last row, but I have to print out a new one every day. That makes no sense. Cue me explaining that in Excel you can type a number into a cell and the sum function adds up the numbers automatically. You don't have to use a calculator, and no, you don't have to print it out. You just leave it in the group share folder where it's already in. And no, you don't have to send the thing as a printed out version to our boss because she has access to the document and can check it whenever. Sadly, I can't appoint someone else as stand-in because the others are too busy. Update: My manager asked me to fill in the Excel sheet even though I'm on vacation. She now only sends me the numbers via email, and then I update the document. So she can type in the numbers into Outlook and send me an email, but can't type the same numbers into Excel and click Save. Great. Update 2. I said F it, and now my manager is doing it herself. Yeah, I've had some people like that before where I'll sit down and I'll show them myself. I'll type things into a cell, show them how it automatically added things up or deducted things, depending on your formula, and then have them sit down at the keyboard and do it just what I did for themselves with their own hands while they're looking at it, and they still don't get it. Local shop tried to charge poor woman $300 just to look at the flash drive that only needed the connector soldered back on. I run a small, all-inclusive computer repair business. This includes component-level, motherboard, and appliance repair, all the way to network and security help. Just about everything. I was an electrical engineer before doing this, so I'm able to do repairs many people aren't. I got a call from a woman that her flash drive is broken. Me: Hello there, so do you know what happened to the USB drive? Her: My kid put it in his mouth. Now it won't read anything on the drive. Me: Well, I'd have to look at it, but most likely if the data is very important to you, you should send it to a recovery service. Her: That's what the other shop said, but they said they would charge $300 just to collect it and send it in, and then charge more on top of that if they get the data off. Me: I see. Do you know what kind of flash drive it is? Her: I don't know, it's from Amazon and it doesn't have a brand name. This is a problem because if I can't find the exact replacement with the exact same controller and revision, I likely won't be able to switch out the controller IC. Me: Well, I don't charge if I don't fix your problem, so bring it on by. Because the other shop was a reputable shop with good reviews, I had assumed they had done their due diligence. My assumption was that the drive had no obvious issues and that trying to recover the data was going to be a pain in the butt. It turns out that the other shop either had a bad day or just doesn't know anything about soldering. She arrived with the drive, and I noticed the USB connector is very loose. It's held in by the plastic housing of those bulk cheap flash drives you find on Alibaba. I break open the plastic and I see that the USB connector is sheared off and broken 2 of the 4 pads. This is the best case scenario. Me: Hey, I don't think you need to send this off to get repaired. I think the drive itself is intact. The USB connector just sheared off. It's kind of the best case scenario, but I'm surprised the other shop didn't already do this for you. It took me about 10 minutes to solder back on 3 of the 4 leads onto the pads, and one of them had ripped off, so I ran a jumper wire to a capacitor that was along the same 5-volt input, and the drive showed up in Windows. It was very wonky, but it worked. I pulled her files off it and put in one of my disposable drives. I get decent quality drives in bulk for customers' data, and handed it back. I didn't charge, but she ended up tipping me $50 anyway. It sucked that some of these techs not only don't know how to fix basic stuff, but doesn't know enough to know that someone else could. Yeah, some computer tech shops are just like mechanic shops. There's a difference between a mechanic, or a technician, and a parts swapper. Me, I work on my own cars. I can diagnose some stuff, but for the most part, I'm a shade tree parts swapper. We can't access anything on the network. I get in Monday morning and one of our users reports, we can't access anything. No email, Skype, Teams, internet, anything. Me, you're going to have to give me a cell number to call. Customer, hey OP, we can't get on the network, and long explanation of things they can't do. Me, okay, let's look at your computer, bottom right corner near the clock. Customer, okay, it's a circle with an X. Everyone's having the same issue. Me, okay, let me log into the local network to see what's going on. I log into the controller and see there is no one connected to the network. Me, okay, I think something got unplugged. Can you walk back into the network closet and check X for me? Customer, where is that? Me, back hallway, third door on the right, I think. Customer, oh, you mean at the old building? We moved over the weekend. Me, excuse me, what? Customer, yeah, we moved. We left all the complicated computery looking stuff with lots of wires at the old building. It looked really complicated and we didn't want to mess anything up. Me, well, I think I figured out your problem. Customer, how long will this take to fix? I need my stuff now. Me, I'm looking up flights now. I'll let you know. I know not everybody knows, the ins and outs and the intricacies of networking and things like that. But do they really think it's this magical thing that their computer just sucks out of the air with no equipment at all involved? Have you tried turning it on? So this one was a few years ago. I provided basic technical support for a local bus company. Their tech was quite old and had its issues, so we convinced the owner to spend a few $100 and replace the 5 old computers with some new Dell Thin clients. I helped them set everything up on a weekend. It was all quite smooth. Installations were without any issues. No licensing problems, nothing. Awesome. Tests were done, so I shut every machine down and enjoy my Sunday evening. Monday morning, I get a few calls. Was still sleeping, so I missed them. Got up, saw the calls, and called the user back. I remember standing in the bathroom. It went like this. Good morning, everything running fine? User, yeah, well, no. My computer won't turn on. Me, huh, that's odd. Just yesterday everything was working fine. Can you check if anything is not plugged in? User, already did. Looks fine. No unplugged cables. Me, okay. Does the computer make any noise or beeping when you hit the button, or is it just completely silent? User, it's completely silent, but the LED is blinking. I realize this was a stupid question because of passively cooled PCs with SSDs, but the user was helpful there. Me, okay. Do other users have this problem or just you? User, just me. Screen is black. Nothing. I tried to think about what I was doing differently to this machine. I had no idea, but I realized that by shutting everything down, I might have confused the user a little. Me, okay user, have you turned on the monitor? User, huh? No, it turns on by itself. How do I do that? Ah, there it is. The old monitor always went to standby, but yesterday I just turned it off. Whoops. Me, yeah, no problem. Put your finger on the bottom right corner of the screen and move it along the bottom side of the screen to the left. You should feel a bump. Just push on that bump. User, okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's working, thank you. Said goodbye and hung up. I proceeded with brushing my teeth, wondering if I really just had to explain to somebody how to turn on their monitor. Yeah, it's amazing how many people think things are just automatic because that's the way it's always been. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. If you've enjoyed this content, would you do me a favor and consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and maybe click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!